Bam. My peoples. My peoples. Curmel Moton fought this weekend. And as always, he, performed, beautifully. Electric performance. This time he went the distance, but as he has done every time out, he was aggressive, threw a lot of punches, and it was an exciting fight to watch. But the fight was not televised. At this point, Curmel Moton is 8-0, and most of his fights have not been televised. Family, salute. Salute, my brother. So, you know, taking into account that Curmel Moton is one of the most special young talents right now, I don't really understand why his fights are not televised. That's just me, my peoples. You already know what it is, man. I'm Jay Smith. This is Box Center. This is your favorite boxer's favorite boxing show. Let's talk about it. What's going on? Why are we not seeing Curmel Moton fights not televised? I don't know if you still remember me. I can't read your name, my brother. I don't know if you changed it, but I can't read the name. Um, but yes, my peoples, when it comes to Curmel Moton, you know, I'm Liam, brother. Oh shit, Liam is in the building. What's up, Liam? LO, aka LLYY. What's the deal, my G? Um, so yeah, my peoples, look, man, I'm disappointed that Curmel Moton fights are not on TV. I remember he fought on a card that was under Danny Garcia's promotion. And if I'm not mistaken, that fight was televised. But for the most part, he hasn't been on TV. His fights are not even in the main card. They're like in the preliminaries and shit. And I don't understand why. If you look at young fighters who, are starting but they're projected to achieve a lot, they're on TV right away. These guys, I see a lot of these guys making their pro debut on TV, and they're within their first couple of fights and they're already on TV. And I'm like, wait a minute. Respectfully, but some of these guys, they not better than Curmel. Yet, they on TV. So, if we consider the fact that Curmel Moton could possibly become the face of the sport down the line, could be the future of the sport, how is he not on TV to kick off his career? This is a historical reference of how he started off and things that he did, when he kicked off his career. And we don't get to see it. His last fight, I was dying to see that fight. You know why? Because he fought a guy who's 5'10". So Curmel is 5'4". He's facing a guy that's 5'10", obviously with a huge height and reach advantage on him. I wanted to see that fight. I wanted to see how Curmel was going to work his way on the inside, which is something that he's very effective at doing. But when you have somebody that has such a long reach advantage on you, it's a tougher task. Yeah, Curmel Moton, as always, I saw some highlights of his latest latest fight, and he looks special, like he always does. His style of fighting is a treat for the fans. People want to watch guys like him fight. Liam, I don't know, man, but the organization will not allow a younger fight to be on TV. No, that's not facts, my brother. That's not facts. If you look at some of these other fighters out there, they're on TV. They're on TV. Some of these other guys out there there's guys out there. I'll give you an example. Look at Shakur's cousin, Zaquin Moses. He's on TV. Been on TV, I think, since his pro debut. Look at Keon. Well, Keon is not that young. Keon is not that young. But then, trust me, there's some young fighters out there who's on TV. So when you're talking about Curmel Moton, one of the most popular young fighters right now, he definitely should be on TV. His pro day, look, I'm gonna put it to you like this: Curmel Moton is 8 fights into his career. It's easy for me to say all 8 of his fights should have been televised, all of them, because how talented he is. Liam, and they don't want to pay him more anyways. Okay, you see, that right there, I don't know. That could be a factor. I don't know. But based on the level of popularity that Curmel has, he should be on TV. Curmel Moton is more popular than other young fighters whose fights are being televised. He's more popular. You could look, and look, I don't want to name any other young fighter. I don't want to get to a point where it looks like I'm trying to diminish somebody else to uplift Curmel. It's not about that. But just look at, Curmel's popularity on social media and compare it to other fighters who are right around his same age and already turned pro. And you're going to see Curmel Moton is one of the most popular fighters, young fighters out right now. He has to be on TV. The fans want to see him on TV. If you do a poll and you ask people, yo, would you like Curmel Moton fights to be televised? The overwhelming majority will say, yes, I want to see Curmel Moton fights on TV. I know, I want to see them. I was dying to see that. Listen, every time he fights and the fight is not televised, I feel disappointed. Because I feel like I'm missing out on history. You see, when a fighter makes history at the tail end of his career, and winning titles, unifying, if they become undisputed, all of that good stuff. But the beginning of their career is the building block to get to that point. So, of course, I don't want to wait for Curmel to be a champion so I can start seeing him on TV, or for him to be a highly ranked contender. I want to see him now. I want to see the development process. I want to see him growing. And we're missing out. Angry Mexican, tell his ducky what's going on, Jay Smith. I mean, honestly, I don't know what's going on. I want to see, because it looks like he wanted that fight, and for some reason he didn't sign the contract. Let's see. Let's see what comes of it. Liam, Tio ain't ducking nobody. Angry Mexican. Yes, Floyd PBC should have Curmel on TV. It makes no sense. I mean, I don't even understand it. To me, Curmel is definitely the most famous young prospect in boxing. Who's more famous than Curmel at that age? So we're looking at Curmel, who it's not just his popularity, it's his style of boxing. He has similarities to Tank Davis, who's one of the most electrifying fighters of today's era. Why would you not have, another version of Tank, or a new version of Curmel, because Curmel is his own guy? Why would you not have Curmel on TV, as exciting as he is to watch? I don't understand it. And he's already 8 fights deep into his career. Like, when they didn't televise his pro debut, I was shocked. Like, what? It's not gonna be on TV? What you mean? That's weird. Okay. I thought maybe, some politics behind it, whatever. And then the second fight, and then the third fight, and then what the hell's going on? Why is Curmel not on TV, bro? Curmel Moton needs to be on TV, my peoples. That's just a fact. Don't forget to hit that like button. Y'all know that like button jumped me into the algorithm. We trying to go viral out here, my peoples. Y'all know Box Center is gonna be the #1 boxing channel in the world, in the galaxy. and in the universe. Aliens ain't gonna have a boxing channel like this one. Moses Itama, pretty popular name in the UK. I agree with you. Itama is his popularity is going up. Um, I think he still needs to get a little bit more popular in the US though, because it's like the United States is the mecca of boxing. You could be popular around the world, but you need to be popular in the US to be that guy. And he's not that popular in the US yet. I think Itama is a guy that has potential to be a world champion, to accomplish a lot. I like something that Frank Warren said about him, and is that he could have pursued the title right away, but they decided to keep developing him. I like that. I like that. Maybe we'll get at some point Italma versus Jared Anderson. I would like to see that fight. Liam, is Curmel more popular than Mike Tyson when he made his debut? You know what? I think he may be more popular than Mike when Mike made his debut. And the reason I say that is because Mike Tyson, when he made his professional debut, there was no social media. And amateur boxing doesn't get televised like that. Even till this day, amateur boxing doesn't get televised like that in the US. So right now, there's a bunch of top-notch amateur fighters that American boxing fans never even heard of. So I would say Mike Tyson, as an amateur fighter coming up, people knew him in New York. People knew him, in the tournaments that he participated in. But outside of that, he wasn't really known because amateur boxing is not really televised in the US. So when he first turned pro, a lot of people didn't really know him like that. The benefit that Curmel Moton has is that he turned pro with Floyd Mayweather in his corner. So you already had, a huge fan base from Floyd Mayweather become Curmel fans. So I think having his name attached to Floyd, brought up his popularity real fast. So I would say Curmel is more popular than Mike Tyson when he turned pro. Because again, at that time, amateur boxing wasn't really or even on TV like that. Even today, amateur boxing is not on TV like that. So as an amateur, Mike Tyson wasn't famous like that. He was famous to the people that, that were in the areas around New York, involved in amateur boxing, and got to see him and say, yo, this guy's gonna be big. But outside of that, people didn't even know Mike Tyson. Angry Mexican. I've been hearing more people talking about it. I assume from here on out, Curmel will be on TV. I hope so, my brother. We should not be missing out on Curmel Moton fights. The most electric young fighter. We're talking about a young lion, only 18 years old, with power in both hands, high ring IQ, great foot movement, punch placement, body punching, combinations. Curmel Moton is a special fighter that shows the full arsenal. If you look at his bag of tools, it's way too deep for an 18-year-old. Yeah, there he is, looking special every time out. We need to see his fights on TV. That's just the way it is. King Nadish, nepotism in boxing is crazy. I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. And I'm not going to name anybody specific because I don't want to come across like I'm hating or anything like that. But you got to look at the fact that there's guys who make their pro debut and they're on TV and they're not half as good as Curmel. There's guys, whose popularity is nowhere near Curmel's, young fighters. And their fights are on TV. So it's like, wait a minute, how is that guy on TV and Curmel is fighting in the preliminaries? How is that even possible? Angry Mexican, Brownsville, New York. has had some legendary fighters. Mike Tyson, Riddick Bowe, Zab Judah, Shannon Briggs. Ooh, yo, that's a facts. Well, Zab is not from Brownsville though. Zab is from Brooklyn. But I'm trying to tell you, man. I'm trying to tell you, my brother. Zab Judah, Mike Tyson, Shannon Briggs, Riddick Bowe, bro. Riddick Bowe was a special fighter. Big Daddy. And I'm going to tell you like this. Riddick Bowe is one of those fighters who I lost money because of him. Um, the first fight Riddick Bowe fought Evander Holyfield, I had Evander Holyfield winning that fight. And Riddick Bowe, man, became the first fighter to beat Evander Holyfield. I was so upset. Angry Mexican, Floyd name has helped with Curmel popularity. Same it did for Tank, of course. That's why at some point I was critical of Floyd Mayweather because I felt like he could do more to promote Curmel Moton. I'd like to see Floyd not just, be there in his fights, but also just see him with Curmel more outside of the fights. Like see him more in the gym with Curmel, like actually him doing pad work with him and doing just more things that'll also help promote and popularize him. And like I said, I'm not happy about the fact that Curmel is not on TV. I don't know why Floyd has not made the necessary moves to make that happen. King Nadish, will we be seeing talking about Mike Tyson in 2075 or even boxing? Well, we're going to be talking about boxing for as long as this earth is around. If the earth is here and humans are in it, we're going to be talking about boxing. Are we going to be talking about Mike Tyson? I believe yes. We're talking about Mike Tyson is the youngest heavyweight in the history of boxing at 20 years old. In our lifetime, my brother, we may never see a 20-year-old heavyweight champion. We may never see that, my guy. That may never happen. So Mike Tyson is a very special fighter. And, throughout the history of boxing, his name will be spoken about. Just like Muhammad Ali, just like Floyd Mayweather. There's certain fighters who had a certain level of impact in the sport of boxing that their names will always come up. Liam, boxing is getting less popular and is becoming an old school thing, and most people MMA fans now. So I think we ain't gonna be talking about boxing in 2075. Nah, boxing is never going away, my brother. It's always gonna be the number one combat sport. Notice that you bring up popularity, right, and how so many people, are watching MMA. Meanwhile, MMA, the best MMA fighters don't make nowhere near the amount of money that the best boxers make. MMA doesn't do the pay-per-view numbers that boxing does, and popularity, and you look at followers too. Boxers are a lot more popular across all social media platforms. So MMA is not, there could be a perception, but MMA is definitely not more popular than boxing. King Nadish, does MMA survive boxing? Will too, bro. Okay, we got one of our boxing brothers over here talking in Russian, my brother. I think that's Russian, I'm not sure, but I can't speak that language, my guy. King Nadish, we will be watching AI fight. I don't think watching AI fight will ever become popular. I'm referring to AI like images. Now, I think at some point, AI robots that we're gonna see fighting, like they'll have robots because they've already done that, right? Whether it's the machines that be on four wheels banging each other, but now they got robots that have, are programmed to be able to punch, and we're gonna see robots boxing. That's gonna happen, and I think even eventually we'll see robots doing, stuff like being able to kick, grapple, and do other skills. Liam, That's true, brother. Because MMA is under one organization, so that's why the money making much less than boxing. It's not just because it's one organization, my brother. Because if MMA does pay per view, they don't sell as much pay per view as boxing, and the people that buy pay per view, that has nothing to do with the organization. It has everything to do with how popular those two fighters are inside the ring. So I think right there, you know the popularity of boxing. Boxing is the most popular combat sport there is. There's no getting around that. Is MMA very popular? Yes. MMA is the second most popular combat sport, but it's second by a landslide. When you have this guy who's one of the biggest MMA names making $5 million, and then you have this guy who's one of the biggest names in boxing making 10, 20, Canelo making 100 million, it's not even close. It's not even close. We know which is the more popular sport. Simple as that. But um, like I said, they're both. We don't have to diminish one to uplift another. They're both very popular sport. Um, and boxing is in safe hands. Now, when I say boxing is in safe hands, I'm referring to the level of talent that there's out there worldwide on the world scale. Here in Dominican Republic, we have an amateur program that is crazy right now. In Cuba, in Mexico, all over the world, there's amateur programs that are serious. So because of that, I think boxing is safe. Boxing ain't going nowhere. Leo, so you think there is no chance of any combat sport becoming more popular than boxing? Honestly, I don't see it. I honestly do not see it. I don't see nothing ever being able to replace boxing. Because you have to understand, my brother, boxing has been around since before there was a name for it. There wasn't a name. Since before that, boxing has, there's caves in different parts of the world where carvings with two men like this. People been boxing, people been duking it out since the beginning of time. That's how old it is. So I can't see anything that's gonna be able to pass that. I just can't see it. And the thing, look, I'm gonna tell you what makes boxing such a pure combat sport, right? In boxing, obviously, it's just punching, right? We stand in front of each other, and the only weapon that you have is your left and your right hand. And that's also the only weapon that I have, right? What makes it the most pure combat sport is that there's no tricks. It's just these two. It's not like MMA where I could fake a kick and punch you in the face. Or I could fake a punch and when you try to block it, I could kick you in the leg. Those are little tricks that you can use, right? Or I could fake an elbow and grab you and slam you. There's a lot of little things that you can do in MMA to trick your opponent. Not to mention, obviously, the grappling, the getting in the floor, the trying to choke each other. All these different things that you can do. Which, by the way, MMA has techniques that help you stop your opponents from striking, which is grappling. The moment you grapple somebody and you bring them down, they can't strike you anymore. Unless they find a way to get on top and, a little ground and pound or whatever. But there's techniques that stop fighters from striking in MMA. And I gotta tell you, striking is definitely the most exciting part of combat sports. So when you guys spend 5 minutes in the floor rolling around trying to choke each other, trying to find position, trying to get that leg lock or whatever it is that you're trying to do, yo, non-MMA fans are boring, or find that boring. They're bored with that. I've heard people at events, boo, boo, because you don't like that. You're not getting action. You're not getting strikes. In boxing, when two fighters are in the ring, there's nothing I could do to stop you from punching. I can't trick you to try to block your legs so I could punch you in the face. I gotta have the skills to punch you in the face, even though you know I'm trying to punch you in the face. That's different. So that's why I say boxing is the most pure form of combat, because it's just these two, and it's up to me to figure out how I could block yours or get out of the way of yours and land mines on you. Nothing, no combat sport is ever gonna be able to surpass that. It's not. King Nadish, think of boxing like a drug. When people didn't get the same hit from boxing, they made MMA. So when MMA doesn't hit the same, what's the next thing? I mean, I think right now MMA and boxing are gonna be the two top combat sports for a long time. I don't know honestly if MMA is gonna ever fall off. I think that what can happen though is that bare knuckle boxing, which is very old by the way. Bare knuckle boxing also been going down since boxing wasn't even a sport. I think bare knuckle boxing can become more popular and maybe surpass MMA. But they're too early on. You know, like the professional bare knuckle boxing leagues that are out, that are fairly new. I think they're young, and it'll take some time for their popularity to go up. Boxing is a legendary sport, and it's still at peak. King Nadish, the peak will become the Basilan eventually. We'll see, my brother. We'll see. I think that boxing, is safe. It's in safe hands. If we look back historically, boxing has always been the most popular combat sport in the world. And we're talking about, even though MMA got more popular, but when you think about it, the UFC has been around since the 90s. The UFC has been around since the 90s. I remember watching UFC when they was fighting without the gloves and when there wasn't as many rules. In UFC, you could pull hair. You could do a lot of stuff in UFC that you can't do, that eventually they started adding rules to it. But UFC has been around for a long time. Um, I have to say, you look at Taekwondo and other sports, Jiu-Jitsu, Sambo, there's other combat sports. They just haven't, reached the level of popularity that you see with boxing and with MMA. But there's a lot of combat sports that have been around for some time. Um, but we digress, my peoples. We got out of the way of the original topic. Curmel Moton not being on television, like I said, I don't agree with that whole situation. I don't understand why Curmel Moton is not on TV. I think that we've already seen enough for him to know that he's for real, that he's the truth. So it's not like, let's keep this guy under wraps and give him a couple of test runs to see if he can handle it, if he can handle the spotlight, if he can fight like that, if he can be a good professional. We already know what Curmel Moton is. We already know where he's headed. He's going to be a world champion. I don't know how many divisions he's going to conquer, how many titles he's going to unify. Is he going to become undisputed? All of that is on the table for Curmel with his level of skills. And and I tell you what, one thing that I really like about Curmel is that you can see that he's a very disciplined young man. He's one of these kids who he fights on Saturday and you might see him in the gym on Monday. You might actually see him in the gym 2 days later. His last fight on Saturday, it went the distance. When a fight, when you go 6, 7, 8 rounds, whatever it was, I know that it's more taxing to the body. So I wouldn't be surprised if he takes a few days off, takes a week off. But he's gonna be in the gym soon. Watch. If you follow Curmel Moton on social media, you know he'll fight, and the following week he's already in the gym, hitting the bag, working out, weights, doing a bunch of shit, running, you know, and he has his father with him. Young kid who's dedicated, who's disciplined, focused, and got his pops with him. And then his pops is also dedicated. Yo, salute to Curtis Moton. Ooh, yo, salute to Curtis Moton. I remember watching a post from him where, years ago, he stopped smoking weed, stopped drinking, just to dedicate himself to his son. That's a father right there. That's a father. You got to take into consideration when a kid, it's where Curmel is at, where he's going to experience a certain level of success. He's going places. His pops is not out there partying, getting high, hanging out with hoes. Nah. He with his son, making sure his son is good, making sure his son stay focused, disciplined. That's a beautiful thing to see. JJ's in the house. Good morning. 3:18 in the morning in California. I'm here, Jay Smith. Let's go. Hit the like button, everyone. Ooh, JJ's in the house in the building early in the AM. Salute, my brother. I appreciate you dropping in, man. So listen, JJ, I was talking about Curmel Moton and, the fact that his father is there with him. And like I said, man, yo, salute to Curtis Moton. Bam. You could see that man has dedicated himself to making sure that Curmel stays on the right path. I remember watching a post from him where he talked about, he stopped smoking weed a few years ago, stopped drinking, stopped partying like that. Why? To focus on his son, and also to show his son the importance of discipline. He's being disciplined, and you can see the discipline that Curmel Moton is exhibiting himself. He's always in the gym, always working out. Fights, wins, doesn't even spend too much time to be right back in the gym. So when you have a father and son duo where you're seeing discipline, you're seeing focus, you're seeing dedication, the sky's the limit. If you look at Curmel Moton's skill set, footwork, punching power, ring IQ, ring savvy, his maturity as an 18-year-old is insane. And then he got his father who's focused and dedicated the way that he is. The sky's the limit, my people. That's what I'm saying. Curmel is going to achieve a lot in the sport of boxing. We need to see him on TV. Put him on TV already. I want to witness everything that he's doing in the process of becoming that guy. Let us see it. Let us see what he's doing every time he fights. JJ's in there. It will give them both a better life together. I agree. When you have, a father who's there consistently, that Curmel, he's not gonna mess up. He's not gonna all of a sudden just, start acting crazy, become an alcoholic, become a drug addict, or, start partying too much and stop training. That's not gonna happen. He got the right person right there with him to keep him going straight, to keep him focused on the goal, on the main objective, which is, of course, becoming a world champion. Got his father right there. And you could see that his father made some sacrifices to make sure that he could be there for his son and push him. Let's see it, my peoples. That's why I say, if anybody deserves to be on TV, it's Curmel. He's earned it. He earned it. And it's not just that Curmel earned the right to be on TV with his, work ethic, with his performances that we've seen, with his popularity on social media, but the fact that the fans want to see him on TV, that's enough. That's enough to televise all of his fights. I feel like, all of his fights should have been on TV. And, with him being 8 fights into his career, I hope that going forward, they'll start doing it. I posted, as a matter of fact, my peoples, yesterday, let me show you so you can see. This is interesting. Even Curmel agrees that his fights need to be on TV. Obviously, he's going to agree. He's that guy. He believes in himself. Look, yesterday I posted this video talking about it. Look. Look, I'm going to tell you like this. All of his fights should have been televised, even from his pro debut. All of them. Curmel Moton, he's already showing us that he's the goods. His performances are electric. Every single. So check it. I posted that video on Instagram, and look who gave it a like. Who's the first one, the first name you see there? Can you guys see the first name? So the first person who liked that video was Curmel Moton himself. But then, if you go to Curmel Moton's Instagram and you check out his stories, talking about someone who could possibly be the future of the sport of boxing. Look, I'm gonna tell you like this: all of his fights should have been televised, even from his pro debut. All of them. If you look at Curmel Moton's story, he reposted my video about the fact that his fight should be televised. Obviously, he agrees. And he should. I'm pretty sure he feels confident in himself enough to be on TV. JJ Sendejas, yes, like we said on your short video, fight fans are missing out on a good fighter. That's what I'm talking about. Fight fans are missing out on the special things Curmel's doing in the ring. It matter 210. Curmel deserves to be on TV 100%. He's a fan favorite style and must see TV. That's a fact, my brother. 5'9" Leon. That's solid, my man. You know it. And I've spoken, on DM with Curmel. One day you're gonna see him on this channel. I'm gonna be interviewing him when the time is right. But Curmel's a special fighter, man. He needs to be on TV already. We tired of waiting. Angry Mexican, that's what's up. David, Jay Smith going places. Oh, yeah, my brother. Oh, yeah, my brother. You could believe it. If off the top of your head, you think about the 10 best fighters in the world today, I promise you, at least 5 or 6 of those know Jay Smith. I promise you. At least 5 or 6 of those know me, know who I am, and have seen my videos. JJ Sendejas, yes, I wrote it to it. You know it, my guy. Angry Mexican. Yes, it shows Curmel not feeling that no TV stuff. I mean, what I don't understand is, how could there be other young fighters who are on TV and they're not as popular as Curmel? They not. Like I said before, I don't want to name anybody because I don't want to come across like I'm hating on another fighter. I'm not trying to do that. Everybody has their own situation. But there's guys that are not as good as Curmel, not as popular as Curmel, and they're on TV, bro. They're on TV. So you gotta put Curmel on. His popularity and the fans demand it. The fans are asking for Curmel to be put on TV. The fans. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. Every time that, and I spoke about this subject multiple times, and when the subject come up, what do boxing fans say? I want to see Curmel on TV. Curmel's fight should be televised. Look, look what Imada, look what you just said. Curmel deserves to be on TV 100%. He a fan's favorite style and must see TV. There you go, my brother. The fans want to see Curmel. Put him on TV already. We don't like missing out his fights. We don't like having to wait for some replay or just catching a highlight. We want to see the ring walk, the fighters announced, the entire fight, the post-fight interviews. We want to see all that. And we're not getting it with Curmel. It's time. Okay, the past is the past. The other fights was not televised. Cool story. It's time to get it done. Let's do it. That's it. Somebody call Floyd. Floyd. I love you, Floyd. You the GOAT. We already know that. Now help us out and put Curmel Moton on TV, Floyd. We boxing fans are really going to appreciate that. But I got to say, my peoples, look, my hope is that maybe going forward, they're going to pull the trigger and start putting them on TV. Like I said, I don't even understand what's behind it. I don't know what kind of politics. How could it be possible that the most popular young fighter, somebody who many see as the future of the sport, many say he's going to be a face of boxing. I don't know how this guy goes 8 fights deep into his career and he's not televised. I don't get it. I don't get it, my people. Hopefully, going forward, we're going to see him on TV. I'm tired of missing out on his fights. The kid is doing something special every single time he step in the ring. Look, that last fight, I was dying to watch it, my peoples. That last fight, because Curmel, well, right now he's listed as 5'4", 5 feet 4 inches. He fought somebody that was 5'10". I was looking forward to seeing how that fight was going to progress, how Curmel was going to work his way on the inside to let his hands go. And I missed it. Come on now. Is this a fighter that you want to be missing his fights and only catching the highlights? Of course not. JJ Zendejas. That's why when we see a fighter that's 15-0 and never heard of him, and we say who this guy boxing, itself could get more fans and get stronger as a sport. I'm trying to tell you. I think the way that they're handling not putting Curmel on TV hurts boxing. Why? Because Curmel's going to do him. His popularity is going to keep going up. He's eventually going to get a title shot. He's eventually, going to make a shitload of money per fight. That's inevitable. But when you don't put him on TV, you hurt boxing. You know why? Because his electric style of boxing can bring in more fans to the sport. It can get more people excited about boxing. You could help the sport when you put Curmel on TV. At least that's how I see it. We know that. We was talking about that earlier. Curmel has a fan-friendly style where he's going to let them hands go with bad intentions. He's going to land hard punches to the head, to the body. Hello, cool guy. What's the deal, my brother? Appreciate you dropping in. What are your thoughts on Curmel Moton not being on TV? Should his fights be televised? That's the magic question, my peoples. Like I said, I think unanimously we all agree that Curmel Moton should be on TV. Hopefully, somebody talk to Floyd or whoever, they need to talk to make it happen. Make it happen already. We tired of not being able to catch his fights. My peoples, I'm about to get out of here. I want to give a shout out to everybody who tuned in. Y'all already know. Shout out to my brother, the Korean pirate. JJ's in there has Angry Mexican, David, Five Line Leon, Imada, and everybody else who came through. King Nadish, salute my brother Liam. I appreciate you guys joining me so we could talk boxing. Y'all already know what it is, my peoples. I'm Jay Smith. This is Box Center, your favorite boxers, favorite boxing show. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. This is going to be the #1 boxing channel in the planet, in the galaxy, in the universe. Like I told y'all, even aliens ain't going to have a boxing channel like this one. I'm out of here, my peoples. One love, salute, bam, peace.